Hello and welcome to This Week in Your Daily Star Trek News. Today is Easter Sunday, April 17th, 2022. Coming up on the show today, we've got all the news coming out of last week's Star Trek Mission Chicago, including a new Prodigy video game, Lower Decks Season 3 teaser trailer, and details on how you can attend next year's convention. I'm checking in with what Nicholas Meyer has to say about his con miniseries. And we're asking the question, what if there had been an animated Star Trek The Next Generation? I'm Alison Pitt, and today's show is supported by people like you through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. Now, of course, if you're listening on the podcast today, I would encourage you to come and visit us over on YouTube. We do this show live every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. We do all of the news, all of the show and tell, the poll, which I'll get onto in a minute. And then you can stick around after the main show is done and we have just a little chat, and it's a ton of fun. So yeah, come and join us over there. It should be fun. Now, before we get going, I just want to remind you again that everything that I talk about today is available on dailystartreknews.com, including all of the articles, as well as some additional stuff like trivia and history and our events listing. And also just, if you want to come to this show already knowing everything, you can do that too. You keep up with it during the week. You can even get this straight to your inbox with our Daily Star Trek newsletter. And you can sign up for that at dailystartreknews.com/contact. Anyway, the hub of everything that we do here is over at dailystartreknews.com. So check it out, bookmark it, and enjoy. Anyway, I promised you guys a poll today, and it's already running on Twitter, so you may have seen it, but we're talking once again about animation stuff. So the poll today is, which Star Trek movie would you most like to see animated? And you've got four choices. You've got Star Trek the Motion Picture, Star Trek 4, the one with the whales, Star Trek First Contact, which of course is topical with Picard going on, and Galaxy Quest. Because I like to throw that in there when it's appropriate. So yeah, which Star Trek movie would you like to see animated? You can vote here in the live stream on YouTube, or you can go check Twitter. That'll run overnight. And of course, we'll check the results of the poll as far as they have been towards the end of the show today. All right. I will say, listen, there's an absolute ton of stuff that I want to make sure that I tell you about this week. So I'm going to kind of rocket through everything. Hopefully, it won't keep you too long. To that end, let's just go ahead and get into it. So to kick us off, as I do, we do have one member of our Star Trek family who passed away recently that I have to tell you about. Chris wrote up a great obituary this week, so I would like to read that to you. And this is for Kathryn Hays, who was in the original series episode, The Empath. Star Trek guest actor and As the World Turns star Kathryn Hays passed away on March 25th at age 88. Hays played the part of Jem in the 1968 original series episode, The Empath. Her death was reported late last week by the Connecticut Post and other places. Born in Princeton, Illinois, and raised in the Midwest, Hays made her way to the stage in numerous summer stock productions, as well as Broadway shows, including Hot September and The Irregular Verb to Love. Her television career began in 1952 in an episode of Guiding Light. In the 1960s, Hays took on roles in numerous television shows, including Bonanza, The Lieutenant, which some of you might recognize, and The Alfred Hitchcock Hour. Later in her career, Hays appeared in episodes of Law & Order SVU, and One Life to Live. Among her many credits on both stage and screen, Kathryn Hays is best known for her performance as family matriarch Kim Hughes on the long-running series As the World Turns, a role she held for 38 years until the series ended in 2010. According to her family and friends, Hays loved to laugh and had a sense of humor that would rival others. She valued her family greatly, making sure that her aging parents were well taken care of, and raised her own family with love and kindness. Kathryn Hays is survived by her daughter and son-in-law, 3 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. So please join all of us here at Daily Star Trek News in sending condolences on her passing to her friends and family. Okay, so let's talk about Mission Chicago. And if you guys are on the internet at all, probably you've heard a lot of these stories, but just want to make sure that we catch up on all the biggest stories that came out of Mission Chicago last week. So, starting off with things that are currently going on, and there's a great new teaser trailer for Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3 that came out as part of Mission Chicago last week. You can view that on YouTube. There's not a whole lot that's going on, and I'm not going to go too spoilery in it. But they do have the voiceover of the characters kind of leading you into the end of last season and what's going on in the next season, which looks like it's going to involve stealing the Cerritos. Should be fun. Yeah, so go and check that out if you're a fan of Lower Decks. And just to remind you, so where we are in terms of series release dates, we're currently in the middle of Star Trek Picard. We've got Star Trek Strange New Worlds coming up, following on from that, starting May 5th, which is like so close. And then the next thing that we think is going to happen is Star Trek Lower Decks sometime later this year, and then followed on by the second half of season 1 of Star Trek Prodigy. So I personally am hoping for like a late summer thing. That's kind of when Lower Decks seems to come out. Interesting to see that they're starting to talk about season 3 now. So looking forward to that. Anyway, things like this, I'm going to leave links in the show notes. And of course, like I said before, you can find all this information on dailystartreknews.com. The other fun thing that came out, speaking of animation, out of Star Trek Mission Chicago, was that Star Trek Prodigy is getting a video game. And I'm very excited about this. So this is a video game that's going to be available on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. And it's sort of intended for a kids audience. But as a person who really likes easy mode on games, I'm really looking forward to this. So Kate Mulgrew specifically was promoting this Mission Chicago, and we don't have a huge amount of details yet. It's being developed by Outright Games and Tessera Studios. There is a little bit, like if you go and follow them, they are starting to promote the game, but we haven't seen any gameplay or anything like that. We have been promised that the full reveal of the game, which is called Star Trek Prodigy Supernova, is going to come out on YouTube late next month. So this was first reported by TrekCore. So you can go and read their original article. And if you want to keep up with what's happening with the development on that, check out Outright Games. I know they're on Twitter. They definitely have channel as well, which is currently full of My Little Pony. So anyway, it promises to be really good and exciting, and I personally can't wait for it, and we'll definitely be getting it when it comes out on Xbox. Right, so we've done Lower Decks, Prodigy, and then it's the it's the news that wasn't news. Probably you've already heard about it. It's not even news. But so TrekCore, again, their coverage, by the way, of things like Star Trek Mission Chicago is very, very excellent. If you are not already following TrekCore, which I expect you probably are, because I think everyone is. If you're not already following them on all the social medias, please go and do it right now because their coverage is exceptional. Anyway, they reported very early on at the convention that some in-convention posters had the first names of Spock and Dr. M'Benga. And it was very exciting because these were first names that had not been revealed in on-screen canon yet, but had been talked about in books, for instance. And it turns out that that was a mistake. So very shortly after that, according to TrekCore, CBS and Paramount got in touch with them, and they said that those names on those posters were inadvertently displayed and that they were incorrect. By the end of the convention, they had actually been removed from those posters. So it's probably much ado about nothing, although, you know, they've been known before to say, oh, that's not happening. And then it turns out it is. See also Discovery, but whatever. if you're interested in that and you want to hear the story of the backstory on those names that they put on those posters, it's actually kind of interesting. I the reason I wanted to tell you about it was because it was interesting where those names come from. And it's basically the old novels. So it's really cool. Anyway, I'll leave a link below and you can read that for yourself. And of course, go follow Trek Core, please, because they're really exceptional. All right. And then finally, I mean, this is just a distillation of all the things that happened in Mission Chicago. I was not there, of course, and a full weekend of events is a lot to take. But the final thing for today is that they have announced where the next Star Trek Mission convention is going to be. Now, of course, if you remember, up till 2020, I think, Creation Entertainment had the license for the official Star Trek convention in the United States, and we did STLV every year. Then things changed. Creation lost that license. Reed Pop now does it, and they're taking it on the move. So the idea is that the Star Trek Mission convention is going to move around from location to location on a yearly basis, which is great because it increases accessibility for people who maybe couldn't make it to Vegas before. And yeah, so this year was the inaugural Reed Pop Mission convention that was in Chicago. And the next one next year is going to be in Seattle, Washington. So that's going to be held at the Washington State Convention Center, which is also where Emerald City Comic Con is. And it's going to be held on May 26th through 28th, 2023. And some of you may note that that's Memorial Day weekend. I don't know if that changes things for you. It could make travel easier or more difficult. In any case, if you're in the Pacific Northwest and you've had trouble getting to the other conventions, maybe make a trip to Seattle. Should be fun. I would love to go because I have family up there. I think that's a great location. My only issue is that I would be then tempted to leave the convention and go to the Space Needle. So I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, tickets are not on sale yet for that, although they are expected to go on sale in June. And of course, if you would like to find out more and keep up with what's going on with those type of events, you should follow Star Trek Missions at Star Trek Mission on Twitter for all the latest news. All right, so we've talked about the convention, and now we're going to get to things that actually happened, and now we're going to talk about things that have not happened. So a weird thing happened this week that I happened to come across. You guys know Nicholas Meyer directed Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Some would argue is the best Star Trek movie. He's been putting out a series of just sort of short videos on Twitter, possibly other social media networks, I'm not sure, but certainly on Twitter, where he talks about different aspects of different things. If you're not already following him on Twitter, it's at Nicholas MQ. So one came out this week where he was talking about, and we've talked about it on this show before, supposedly there was going to be a Khan miniseries that was taking place between the events of the original series and Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, basically talking about that time period, where Kirk had dropped them off on this beautiful, lush planet in kind of exile / imprisonment, but not, going to be well taken care of. And then SETI Alpha 6 exploded, right? And then it became a desert, horrible wasteland, and, etc. So this had been sort of rumored, and he's talked about it on other things before, but this was a new video where he talks in no uncertain terms about what that would have been like and how it happened. Basically, he talks about the conversation that he had with the head honcho Alex Kurtzman, and he confirmed that he went and he wrote the entire thing, and what he said was he thought it came out pretty good, but then he never heard from anybody again, and it's just sitting there. I'm not sure why he put that out now, but judging by the comments, it sounds like a lot of people would love to see that story. So maybe it's drumming up interest. I'm not sure. But he's also put out a couple of other videos since then on similar topics about why, should Spock have died sorry, spoilers. should Spock have died or stayed dead, I guess, at the end of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Interesting to find out, and certainly I am going to be following it to find out where, if anywhere, his videos lead. So once again, that's at Nicholas MQ on Twitter, and I don't know. Tell me what you think. Do you want to see one? All right, so it seems like animation is like having a day in Star Trek. Obviously, we're talking about it in the poll today. Prodigy is getting a new video game. Lower Decks is coming on to season 3, which is like incredible. And it seems like we're having a kids resurgence in Star Trek, which is interesting because Star Trek has always been for me anyway, Star Trek has always been an adult product that's accessible to children. Discovery notwithstanding. And now we're having this whole retro thing. So late last year, Playmates Toys announced that they're bringing back toys, right? Action figures, and they launched with a series of 6. And now they've announced that John Lancie is going to be the face of Playmates Toys, and they've launched a whole website that is a really cool website for all of their products that they're coming out with. And it's not figures; they're also doing. There's a phaser and a tricorder or communicator. I can't remember exactly which. Anyway, the website to go to is playmatesstartrektoys.com. It's available now. It does work now, although there's not a huge amount of stuff in it. It's a really cool, interactive LCARS website. And I'm not sure if they intended for it to be, but it's very retro for me. It's very I'm trying to explain what it's like without being insulting. It's very like old school GeoCities or something like that. That's what it feels like to me anyway, the kind of interactivity, lots of sounds, lots of blinking things, and John Delancey shows up. They've done a really cool job of, as you're navigating the website, when you click on things, he pops up and starts talking to you. He's very clearly kind of like the Ghost in the Machine or something like that. So it's cool. Apparently, according to Playmates Toys, he's going to turn up in social media promotions, videos, etc., throughout 2022, and they've got accounts across Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So go check that out if you want to follow that, and definitely go onto playmatesstartrektoys.com because they're sort of showcasing their whole range there. Now, I will mention, because I'm shameless, we are an affiliate with a place called entertainmentearth.com. So if you want to help out the show, if you go purchase those things through entertainmentearth.com, that does help us. I will leave a link down below. And we do put those links on our website too. So if you happen to be looking at those. Anyway, yeah, they are a lot of new toys coming out. The ones that we announced last year, plus the new Prodigy ones and a couple of prop replicas. And of course, the new website, playmatesstartrektoys.com, is all very, very cool. And then Pure Fantasy, I asked this question up at the top of the show. What if Star Trek The Next Generation had been animated or had gotten an animated edition? And somebody did it. And it's really, really good. So a company called Gazelle Automations published this video on YouTube and social media earlier this week that said, basically answered the question, what if Filmation had made episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation? And they took a scene from The Best of Both Worlds, Part 1, and they just straight up gave it the animated series treatment with the where they reuse the same cels, or they have the same music playing, and the animation is a little bit bad. They replaced the Khan with the Kazinti and things like that, and it's wonderful. The Borg is purple. And it's wonderful. Go and watch it. It's a tremendous amount of fun. A novelty. I don't really expect anything to get that treatment, but if you are a fan of the animated series, it's cute. And if you're not a fan of the animated series, listen, you need to get your head in the game, because the animated series is some of the best Star Trek storytelling that has ever been made. It's true. Okay. There's a couple. I feel like there's so much to get through today. Two other things that are sort of time sensitive. So if you're listening to this today, when I'm doing it on the 17th, these are things to get on right now. Number one, Rod Roddenberry, who, as you know, is the son of Gene Roddenberry, is not giving away. He's signing some exclusive film cels live on Instagram tomorrow, so Monday the 18th. And it's kind of your chance to own a little slice of Star Trek history. They're literally slices of film cels from the original series, and signed live by Rod Roddenberry. So if you are interested in that sort of thing, you can go over to the Roddenberry Instagram page, which is @Roddenberry, which is very easy. There is also an event page on streamily.com. That's streamily.com. And I'll, of course, leave a link that gives you some more information and shows you the things that you can purchase that will be signed. They're a little bit pricey, but like I said, they are sort of one-of-a-kind pieces of history that you might be interested in. But that's happening tomorrow, so you have to get on it quick. The other thing that I wanted to just really quickly mention is, I haven't talked about it in a while, but we do have a store over on TeePublic. Again, we're affiliates, so if you purchase anything through that store, we do get a commission. I want to say that out front, but they're having a sale this week. And it ends today. So everything's 35% off. They do these every once in a while. If you're in the market for a Star Trek t-shirt, or mugs, mouse pads, wall tapestry, anything that has anything on it like that, print on demand stuff, now is a really good time to do it, because they've got their sale on. I will leave a link down below that will take you to our storefront. It does give us a commission. But yeah, go and check it out, and I would appreciate it. Thank you. So that's sort of it for news and other stuff this week. I'm going to take a pause really quick before we get on to show and tell, and then, of course, the poll results. But before I do that, I just want to remind you that what we do here is, like I said, it's supported by our affiliate transactions, which are, fine. They're small, but whatever. Mostly what we do here is supported by patrons. So that's on patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. You can support us from just $1 a month, and every little bit helps. I know that I go on about it every week, but it really does help. That's over at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. I should also mention that if you want to hang out with us on the Discord, that's a Patreon perk as well, and it's at all levels. So you can do that too. Also, there's a poll running in the chat, so if you haven't answered already, please do that. Let's review the question. It was, which Star Trek movie would you like to see animated? And your choices are the motion picture, the one with the whales, First Contact, or Galaxy Quest. And I can tell you right now that it's looking incredibly, incredibly tight. So if you feel strongly, vote now. Now is the time to do it. All right. So let's do show and tell. And okay, so we talked a lot about con stuff this week. Con and con. No, but I meant convention stuff. And when I realized I never kind of showed you the stuff from WonderCon. So just a quick reminder, a couple weeks ago, I was on a panel at WonderCon with Larry Nemechek and James Kerwin and John Champion and Jessica Lynn Verdi. You can listen to that in our podcast feed, by the way, if you're interested. But I wanted to give you kind of like a behind the scenes look of like the stuff that you get when you do that. And so, so I want to show you my con stuff, which is very exciting to me. Okay, so first of all, you get the badge. And this is all like super exciting to me. Um, it, if you've been to a convention, these are very exciting. I always get really excited by the Comic-Con and WonderCon ones because they say professional. It makes me feel really cool. It makes me feel really cool, like walking around the show floor. I'm a professional. Um, sorry, that's really embarrassing to say, but I do. It makes me. I like being part of putting on the show. So there's that. I was really disappointed in the lanyards. The ones that you get at Comic-Con are all like fancy and whatever. These ones are less fancy, but that's okay. The other thing, the other thing that you get when you're on a panel is one of these doohickeys, which is kind of fun. So obviously, like the front of it says WonderCon and your name, and yes, they spelled my name wrong. It happens pretty frequently, actually. It's fine. I joked that I should get like a black marker and just like color in the middle. It would be a like really fat L. But the bit that you don't often see, which is why I keep all of these, is because it also gives you all this stuff on the back. So it's sort of reminders that are like, hey, remember that there's, kids here. Be careful. Um, you know, fun for pandemic times is please wear your mask at all times. Thank you. And just, I'm not, just in case you've forgotten, it also tells you like the time you are and what your panel is that you're supposed to be doing, just in case you forget, I guess. But it's nice. Yeah, so it's fun. I keep all of these, which is really, I don't know, lame, but I keep them all and they're a tremendous amount of fun. Anyway, those are the things that I got from WonderCon this year, but in all of that, there's another like little piece of daily Star Trek news history, because I don't know if you know this, but we're coming up on 3 years of daily Star Trek news next week. It's either the 10th or the 23rd of April, depending on your point of view. In 2019 will be 3 years of daily Star Trek news. And while I was preparing for WonderCon, I got out my Zoom recorder, so not Zoom as in the video conferencing, but a company called Zoom makes handheld recorders, which I should have brought up, actually. I don't know where it is. It's in a box somewhere. They're really good for like, it's just a handheld mic, basically. So you've got a couple different mic options that you can kind of plug into the top if you just want to, put a microphone in someone's face. But the other thing you can do is they've got jacks in for, you can jack from the main mixer table through the sound system at the actual convention into the Zoom recorder, and then you get the mixed output. That's actually how we do the audio for the podcast. So if you listen on the podcast of the panel that we did, that's what we do. Is I bring my Zoom and I get the line out from the mixing board and do that. Anyway, that's beside the point. It's really fun, nerdy audio stuff. It makes me feel like like incredibly cool to be like walk up to the engineer guy and be like, yeah, I just need a mixed line out, whatever. Anyway, the point being is in the bag that I used for my Zoom, I had a whole bunch of like promotional stuff from, gosh, it's got to be the STLV in 2019, because that was the first year that I was doing daily Star Trek news. It was the first year I had any promotional stuff, and it's also the last time really that we went to a convention. So I found these bad boys. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. So these are little pins. But the reason they're cool is because that's my old logo. I started off, one day I'll tell the whole stupid story, but this show started off like really, really fast. And my aim was to do as little as possible to get it up and running and evolve it as time has gone on. And if you like go back way to the beginning of daily Star Trek news, you'll see absolutely that. I started off with almost nothing, bare bones, and then it just sort of grew from there. And this was like our first logo. Oh, there we go. And I can't even say our first logo because it was only a me at the time, and I'm not a graphic designer. So eventually, I changed the font, changed the placement of things, put my face on it, and that's where we are today. Someone in the chat has said, "Ooh, I want one." I actually have a bunch of these, so uh, they're a pain to get out. That's the only problem. That's the only problem, and why I still have a bunch of these is because, believe it or not, it costs about $4 to send out one of these because of the pin. It makes it too thick to go in a normal envelope. Um, but I'll try and figure out a way that we can get some of these out to you guys or something, because I have a ton of them left over because it's not my logo anymore. But they're vintage. We'll call them collector's items or something like that. Anyhow, that is convention stuff. I don't know if any of you guys do the convention thing, but for me, one of the true joys of being at the convention is kind of helping put it on and helping entertain people. And so, yeah, I have a whole big box of stuff like that. Anyhow, okay. Right, I'm going to check in on the poll. So, oh, it's still kind of neck and neck here on YouTube. So get your votes in if you want, and I'm going to go and check over on Twitter. It's neck and neck on Twitter as well. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so at the moment, so just to recap, it's which Star Trek movie would you like to see animated? And I kind of gave you kind of a breadth of choices. Surprisingly, nobody's really written in their own, so that's interesting. But the choices were the motion picture, the one with the whales, First Contact, and Galaxy Quest. By the way, if you're ever wondering why I insist on calling it the one with the whales, it's because one guy like 2 years ago wrote in, was like, "Why do you call it the one with the whales? It's not what it's called." And I was like, now I'm going to call it that forever. That's a little personality tidbit of mine. Anyway, okay, so on Twitter currently, and remember this is running overnight, currently in the lead with 31% of the vote is the one with the whales. Interesting. Now, tied for third place is the motion picture and First Contact with 20.7%. Oh no, I've screwed it up. Right. First, scratch all that. Go, forget I said any of that. In first place is the one with the whales at 31%. In second place, with 27.6% of the vote, is Galaxy Quest, one of the finest Star Trek films ever made. And then tied for last place is actually the motion picture and First Contact. Although, having said they're in last place, they each have 20.7% of the vote. So it's actually pretty well spread across all of the choices. Right. Here on YouTube, I'm going to end this poll. All right. Okay. Slightly different but similar. In the lead with 30% of the vote is Galaxy Quest. And then tied for third place is Star Trek the Motion Picture and Star Trek 4, the one with the whales. And then in last place with only 17% of the vote is Star Trek First Contact. So slightly different, but still pretty well spread out, not a lot of change there. All right. Well, that is it for this week in Daily Star Trek News. Thanks for sticking with me. Just a reminder that if you are listening to this on the podcast, we would love to see you over on YouTube. Come and chat with us. We don't bite. And remember that you can find everything that I've talked about on this week's show on the website at dailystartreknews.com. And if you want to know about it as soon as we publish it, you can sign up for the Daily Star Trek newsletter at dailystartreknews.com/contact. Everything's on there, and you won't miss anything. And we deliver it straight to you without you having to do anything. So it's great. Anyway, thank you for listening. Today's show is produced by me, Alison Pitt, and all of this week's stories were written by Chris Peterson, Marina Kravchuk, Jack Brown, T. Rick Jones, and David Powell. Today's show was supported by people like you through Patreon. You can find out more about that at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. I will be back next week, which is technically the 3rd anniversary of Daily Star Trek News. Maybe I'll do something. I really feel like I should plan something special, so maybe we'll figure that out. Anyway, I will be back next week with more of the Star Trek news you need to know. I'm Alison Pitt. Live long and prosper. 3 years, man. That's a lot. Hi, everybody. All right. Chris Peterson is in the chat today. Everybody say hi to Chris. He's teasing tomorrow's newsletter content. He says, have a fantastic weekend. Tomorrow has a special nod to a special friend of the show, which is true. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And guys, you don't have to leave. I'm going to stick around for another few minutes. This is the time when we just chat and talk about random stuff. Right. This is the time where it gets all awkward because I scroll backwards and it's like looking back in time while you guys keep on talking. Yeah, Paul, right. It literally is the one with the whales. Right. It's the one with the whales and it's fun. And Star Trek 4, I could rant about this. Star Trek 4 is such a fun movie from start to finish. I love everything about it. I mean, you can argue whether it's good and you can argue whether it's Star Trek and all of the things. It's just a tremendous amount of fun from start to finish. And calling it the one with the whales just is absolutely in keeping with what it is. Actually, for a long time, I couldn't remember what it was called. And then I got that poster, which I love, by the way. That comes from Roddenberry offices. That makes me feel very woo. Yeah, it's still my favorite. It's the one that, like, if I'm watching it downstairs, it's the one that has a slight chance that one of my kids will come and watch it because it's so accessible. And it has a really great Star Trek message as well, etc. Whatever. To shamelessly plug TeePublic again, there's a couple of really great One with the Whales t-shirts on our TeePublic that were lovingly created by Carl Huber. So they're great, and you should check those out too. Right. Donnie Pearson says, oh snap, Galaxy Quest is in the lead about the animated Star Trek movie. Yeah, it would work. It would very much work. Oh, excuse me. Right, talking about the pins. Hang on, excuse me. So Paul Wright says, I'm super bummed there was virtually no Roddenberry representation at Chicago. Yeah, Chicago was like a weird... I personally could tell it was the first year that they'd done that sort of thing at that sort of scale. There was stuff that, like, so there's a certain way that things were always done at STLV, and there were certain things like that you expect to see at STLV, and I don't think they quite knew about all of those things. And I don't know, usually, because I was never going to go to Mission Chicago. It was never on the cards for me personally, so I didn't pay much attention. But it sounds like they just were not upfront enough making some of those like bigger deals happen. Plus, not being funny, I've seen a number of people saying that they caught COVID at Mission Chicago, a couple. I shouldn't say, it's not like a full outbreak or anything like that. We can't forget there is actually still a pandemic on. It's hard for us to commit to things like that in the right amount of time that it takes to actually then put something like that together. What you don't see behind the scenes is that the people who uh, exhibit as vendors at a show like that, it takes a huge amount of preparation time well in advance, especially if the people who are going to be hosting panels or things like that. Just equipment, marketing things, getting people there, getting your arrangements all sorted out takes a tremendous amount of work. And it's hard with COVID to be able to commit to that far ahead to be able to kind of make that happen. So, I think that's probably going to be the case for probably the next year or so, if I'm honest, because I'm thinking about STLV. I would love to go to STLV, but then I just watched a whole bunch of people get COVID at Mission Chicago, and really nothing is changing. Um, I, that leaves a level of skepticism for me. So I don't know. I don't know what will happen with STLV. We'll see. And Oh, along the same lines, Christoph says, why not bring those pins to conventions? I will, if I can remember that they exist. Probably what I'll do is I'll bring my whole... So my Zoom actually came with the Zoom unit and the little attachments and things. It also came with, it's so funny, it came with like 4 microphones and cables and microphone stands, which at the time we absolutely needed. And it's so funny because in a couple of years, the technology has moved on so significantly. I don't know if you can see the microphone that I wear for this show is one of these. I don't know if you can see that. It's a Rode Wireless Go 2. And in terms of like, so originally when I did the Zoom stuff, I would have like a whole microphone set up. We used to do this with Priority One all the time, is get the table set up and get all the microphones set up. And we do our interviews like that. It was sort of like one microphone per person. That's now super, super heavy in terms of technology, because what we've got now is a really good, reliable wireless, which this receiver, and I really don't even put it through its paces because it's only ever me, but there's a receiver on my camera and that can actually record 2 separate tracks. It's, the tech... Anyway, whatever, I'm ranting about stupid audio stuff. Anyway, I have this huge bag. I have this huge bag with my Zoom in it that I took to STLV, and it's got this stuff in the side. If I take that bag to STLV or the next convention, probably I will also take pins because they're in there. But if I don't, then I'll probably forget about them again, like I did this time. What I do have actually is lots of stickers, and I should make sure you tune in next week. I will give some stickers away because I have a ton of them that I just kind of never did anything with. I've got the Trek and Everyday stickers, which actually probably most of you who are watching already have. But I also have my favorite, which say, "No, Star Trek isn't canceled." That's my favorite. Anyway. Sorry, I'm scrolling back. Dr. Mohammed Noor is in the chat. Hi, Mohammed. I will do my weekly plug for BioTrekkie. BioTrekkie with the Admiral was on earlier today, so you can go and rewatch that if you want. It's very good. You guys really seemed to like some animated stuff, which is cool, with the pink Borg ship. And BC mentions, yeah, zoom in on the eyes so you don't have to animate the mouth. Yeah, there's so many. Seriously, the animated series from a production standpoint is really, really wonderful. There's super short episodes, and they had a really small voice cast. It's fun if you don't know who did the voices for things to try and guess which of the cast did the voices of the guest people. Like I was watching The Magics of Magus 2 recently, and it's fun to try and figure out like, oh, who's the voice of um, oh, the guy, whose name I can't remember, or who's the voice of uh, the Inquisitor name. I have such a terrible memory. Anyway, the animated series from a production standpoint is so fun to watch how they made it easier. Back in the day, you actually had to draw things by hand. Now it's all computer generated. So yeah. Okay. BC makes it good. This is going back to the Con miniseries thing, which, yeah, BC. BC says, so if Ceti Alpha 6 exploded, how did Ceti Alpha 5 become anything other than 5? Aren't planets numbered from the sun outward? Yes, I think. I mean, the whole thing, let's be honest, is a little bit stupid because you can't tell me that the Enterprise, which can see light years away and has star charts and everything, and that they can approach a star system and not be like, hold up, something's a little wrong here. What I'm assuming is that I don't know. What I'm assuming is that when Ceti Alpha 6 blew up, it knocked it into a weird orbit. And so it ended up, the planet ended up being in the place where they expected Ceti Alpha 5 to be. But because it was the other way around, I mean, but because it had gone closer and then farther out, it had gotten scorched. I don't know. It made it into a weird orbit rather than a smaller orbit, or a bigger orbit, should I say. And it's all ridiculous anyway, because 100% somebody would have gone, one of our planets is missing. Anyway. By the way, I would just like to say it's really wonderful to scroll back in the chat and see you all saying hello to each other. It's kind of wonderful because I'm just here in my house. And it's nice of you to see. It's nice to see all you saying hello. There was a picture, Mohammed, I think you were the one who posted it, of a large component of the chat pack at Mission Chicago. And that was wonderful to see. So, Chris in the chat says he'd put DSTN stickers on everything. I've got some extras. I'll send them to you. I only have 2 designs though, so yeah. Wardogheim and BC and Paul Wright and Chris all very correctly pointed out that Jimmy Doohan was usually the voice of the people in the animated series. That's true, and you can hear it too. Anyway, it's just very fun. Anyway, okay, guys, we've been here long enough. Thank you for joining me again this week, and I'm going to try and maybe do something nice for next week. We are attempting to get the whole gang together, but for like some kind of year anniversary celebration. But it turns out all of us work different schedules and we all have different social lives. So we'll see what happens. We're going to try and get together so you can see the other members of the team. David and Chris and everybody sometimes turn up in the chat, but you've never actually had a chance to speak to them. So we want to try and get that sorted at some point. Anyway, Thank you again. Thank you for spending time on this sort of holiday Sunday. Thank you for taking the time to be here. And we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.